Now, in a fit of largesse, Vince Cable confirmed today that the national minimum wage is going to rise by 3% in the autumn, above the rate of inflation. It adds up to a princely 19 extra pence an hour. Mind you, people have been getting poorer for the last several years as the wage went up by less than the rate of inflation. Valuable ammunition for the Labour Party in its cost of living campaign. Hard to recall now that when it was proposed, the minimum wage was a controversial idea. Tomorrow, the Resolution Foundation releases a report authored by the minimum wages architect, which examines whether it's still fit for purpose. We'll be speaking with him in a moment or two. First, Laura Koonsberg reports.
People, production and pay. Cogs in our economic machine. 15 years ago, a new component, a minimum wage, was plumbed in. Now it's not running as smoothly as it should. From October, it's £6.50 an hour. A 40-hour week means £13,500 a year. But after tax and national insurance, that is just a take-home of £231 a week. Katie gets up at 4:45 in the morning to go to work cleaning government offices. After rent, bills and transport, just living, £6.54 is not enough to make ends meet.
It's impossible because we spend that money in 3 or 4 days. You work hard and you can survive and you can have a good life. Always you need to think about what you're going to do with every penny.
And the rate was designed to be the bare minimum, not the benchmark for millions. 1.2 million are on the actual wage, another 1.4 within 50p. But there are 5 million on low pay under the international definition, around £7.70. And look at this, that spike shows more and more of our wages clustered around the minimum level.
When the minimum wage was introduced, it was intended very much as a red line that should never be crossed. And in fact, what's happened is the ripple effects, if you like, have been smaller than everyone thought. And employers have treated it almost as a going rate in some sectors, and they're taking it as a guide to what they should be paying.
But why should business fix that? Pay any more than they have to? The inventor of the minimum wage wants firms to cough up a higher rate for London, and a new government target to pull more workers out of low pay. Most controversially, the architect of the minimum wage wants the authorities to point the finger at employers who could afford to pay more but choose not to. The idea to name and shame business into raising wages. But is that realistic or even fair? Like thousands of businesses, this food distributor doesn't just have spare cash lying around.
More rules, more complication. There is a very tight margin into the profit we make. Very big competition. So obviously the more wages are going up, the margin going lower, and the customer obviously always wants to pay less.
Ministers want the minimum wage eventually to regain the value it lost in the downturn. The idea that started as temporary has survived and become a permanent part of our economy. But it hasn't removed the trap of low pay for millions. It may be broke, but it's not straightforward how to fix it.
Well, Sir George Bain, the architect of the minimum wage when it was introduced, is in our Belfast studio now. Sir George, did you expect it to last this long?
I don't think I did. When it came in 1998, we made a recommendation, and it was simply set up for a year, and I'm quite surprised but delighted that 15 years later it's there, and indeed even more delighted that all political parties now accept it and indeed want it increased.
Has it achieved what you hoped?
Well, it has achieved a good deal of what I hoped. It has pretty much abolished extreme low pay. Usually extreme low pay is defined as being half the median, something below about £5.75 an hour. And when it came in, about a third of a third of the labour force was in this position. Today it's about 7%. So it's abolished extreme low pay, but it hasn't abolished low pay. The problem now is the people, as your commentary suggested, who are on the minimum wage, and as the commentary suggested, there's a spike there, but who are way below the two-thirds median, $7.71 an hour, which is the international definition of low pay. It's that group which we failed to actually do anything for. The medium low paid, if you like, not the extreme low paid.
And indeed, inequality has got worse since it came in.
Inequality has got worse. I mean, I think anybody who is concerned about the stability of societies, of course, this is not just true in the United Kingdom, it's true pretty much across the Western world. Those at the top of the income distribution, one always mentions bankers, of course, but there's lots of others, have done very, very much better. The rewards of globalization seem to be going to them, but penalizing those at the bottom. And I think it's pretty clear from evidence that societies that are more egalitarian tend to do better than those who have really quite marked and in some ways these days I think quite obscene differences in the ratio of high pay to low pay.
These consequences that you're, or maybe they're collateral consequences of what happened, they don't make you think maybe this minimum wage is just too much of a blunt instrument?
It is too much of a blunt instrument, Jeremy. I mean, that's exactly the problem. I mean, the metaphor I like to use is that of a garment. In fact, the metaphor is quite a good one because the tailoring trade is one of the low-paid areas. And since it's a single rate and you have to set it so that it doesn't cause mass unemployment, and hence it has to be set relatively low. If you set it, say, at the living wage, which some people argue, which is about £7.65 an hour, you would cause massive unemployment in areas like retail, clothing, social care for elderly people, and so on. Yet, on the other hand, there's a whole range of sectors. There's only about 5 sectors where this is true. There's a whole range of sectors where you could actually easily afford to pay more than the minimum wage as it's set. So there is something to be said, and that's what we are saying, for having it vary, first of all, not by region, but we have a long tradition in the UK of treating London as a special case, and we think there's a special case for London to have a higher national minimum. We also think there's a special case for publishing, after the Low Pay Commission has done its research, done its homework, a rate that particular sectors, other than those at the very bottom, could afford to pay, a kind of indication of that rate.
Sir George, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.